Cleopatra was not Egyptian. She was Greek. Her father was a general in the army of Alexander the Great, and in this video, we will tell you everything about her life. Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss new videos. When her father, Ptolemy the 12th, came to power, Egypt was ruled by native Egyptians. That is why it was so important for him to marry a native so that his lineage would be considered legitimate. He married Cleopatra v. Tryphena, the daughter of an Egyptian priest. Their son was Ptolemy the 13th, but he died just 2 years after he came to power. Then came Cleopatra the 7th, Ptolemy's daughter from another marriage. She became the regent of Egypt while her brother Ptolemy the 15th was still a child. They were only 14 years old when they took the throne together. Her first task was to find out who had assassinated her father and half-brother. It turned out to be a conspiracy led by her own mother, Cleopatra, Vitryphena, and her lover Pathinus, a eunuch who was the tutor of Cleopatra the 7th and her younger sister. Without wasting a moment, she had them both put to death. Being born in the royal family of the last pharaohs, Cleopatra was destined to become the next ruler of Egypt. The girl received a magnificent education, typical of both Macedonian royalty and the traditions of the ancient Egyptians. She learned all the skills necessary for governing the kingdom, including diplomacy, accounting, and law. Also, Cleopatra studied medicine, astronomy, mathematics, history, and many other subjects. Thanks to her intelligence and diligence, Cleopatra spoke several languages, including Egyptian, which at that time was the language of the priests. This allowed her to gain the favor of the masses, but it didn't help her with her personal life. At the age of 14, she married her own brother, Ptolemy the 15th. Their marriage was unhappy from the very beginning, partly because the young king had no intention of sharing power with anyone. Even though Cleopatra gave birth to 2 of his children, a boy and a girl, nevertheless, the couple soon got divorced. Officially, the reason for the divorce was never revealed, but according to some sources, Cleopatra's brother accused her of having an affair with one of her servants. Soon after the divorce, Cleopatra went to see Julius Caesar in Rome. According to Plutarch, she arrived there in the form of a goddess. Descending from the ship in full regalia and accompanied by several thousand soldiers, she probably wanted to ask Caesar for help to restore her power in Egypt. But instead, as Plutarch writes, she captivated the Roman with her beauty and wit. In just a short time, they were having an affair, which resulted in the birth of Caesar's heir. When Caesar was assassinated, Cleopatra and her son had to flee to the city of Beryl, where they stayed for 4 years. During this time, Cleopatra had a chance to meet Mark Antony, who came to Beryl with his wife Octavia the Younger. At that point, Mark Antony was still married, but it didn't stop the 2 rulers from starting an affair. Soon, Antony broke up with Octavia and married Cleopatra. Thus, she became the Queen of Egypt, and Caesarion was recognized as Caesar's heir. However, their happiness was short-lived. Octavia, who had been repudiated by her husband, demanded that the marriage be annulled on the grounds that Cleopatra had once been the wife of her brother, which made her an unsuitable bride for the future emperor. Even though Cleopatra was innocent in this situation, she was already in conflict with Octavian, who was known for his vindictiveness. So, to protect herself and her family, Cleopatra decided to go all out. In 41 BC, she sent ambassadors to Parthia to sue for peace and end the war between Parthia and Rome. A Roman senator named Gaius Piso served as the head of the delegation. The queen lavished every possible entertainment on the guests and showered them with expensive gifts. Soon, the whole company got drunk on wine and fell into a deep sleep. During that time, Cleopatra's servants stole a lot of gold, jewelry, and other valuables from the sleeping Romans. When the visitors woke up, they found themselves robbed and immediately sent messengers to Octavian with a complaint against the Egyptian queen. As soon as he got such an appeal, Octavian began to prepare for war. First, he sent his fleet to Alexandria, and then he himself arrived there along with his troops. Of course, Cleopatra did not surrender the city without a fight. Naval battles between the troops of Octavian and those of Cleopatra raged in the eastern Mediterranean for 3 years. Meanwhile, Mark Antony continued to rule in Rome and support his wife. But in 37 BC, he suffered a stroke and went blind. Unable to govern, he was declared insane and removed from office. His wife, Cleopatra, and her son Caesarion were also declared enemies of Rome. However, the Egyptian queen refused to leave her palace, believing that Octavian would surely die before her. Unfortunately for her, the young Octavian, who later became known as Augustus, proved to be more persistent. After besieging Alexandria for 9 months, his troops managed to penetrate the city walls. Despite the fact that Cleopatra offered her son as a hostage, hoping to save her own life, Augustus didn't want to end the war and ordered her to be executed. According to one version, the fatal blow to Cleopatra was dealt by her trusted servant, a woman named Irene, who brought her the poison that ended the life of the Egyptian queen. Another version says that it was a member of Cleopatra's family who betrayed her to the winner. Most likely, it was the servant. Because Cleopatra wasn't just beautiful and smart, she was also generous and kind. If you want to know more about her amazing deeds, stay tuned and watch our videos. Before her death, Cleopatra wrote a letter to the future Emperor Augustus in which she tried to justify herself and prove her innocence. In the letter, the Egyptian queen confessed that she had been having an affair with Mark Antony, but she blamed him entirely for their problems. According to her, Antony left Rome and went to her, and then they married according to Egyptian customs. After that, Antony sent embassies to conclude peace with Parthia, but it was Cleopatra who insisted that they be received with honor. Furthermore, it was the Egyptian queen who had provided dowries for Antony's daughters and paid for his gladiatorial games and feasts. In short, according to Cleopatra, it was she who saved Rome from ruin when it was being dragged into the abyss by the reckless Antony. At the end of the letter, the Egyptian queen asked to take good care of her children, Caesarion and the young Ptolemy, whom she called the sons of Antony and Augustus, respectively. Unfortunately, none of Cleopatra's arguments helped her. Still, Augustus actually honored the last request of the Egyptian queen, having adopted her youngest son, Ptolemy the 15th, and made him his heir. Even after her death, Cleopatra continued to attract the attention of historians. One of the most famous descriptions of her image was created by the Roman poet Ovid. Here it is. Her cheeks were white, like alabaster, lips red as if painted with Syrian rouge. Her bosom rose and fell like softest snow upon a hill. Her eyes sparkled brightly like stars, her lashes dark as ravens' wings. Her brows were arched gracefully, her nose and mouth regular, small and well proportioned. Her neck was white as snow, her hair a mass of braided gold. Despite the fact that Cleopatra died 2,000 years ago, research in the 19th century, scientists discovered a statue of Cleopatra in the Egyptian city of Taposiris Magna. Its author is considered to be the greatest sculptor of ancient Rome, the freed slave Ag. The statue was made in 100 AD, which means that even in ancient times, the image of the Egyptian queen was still alive. By the way, this statue is unique because Cleopatra is depicted there as the goddess of the Nile, Neith. The fact is that in ancient Egypt, the ruling pharaohs were considered divine. It was believed that they descended from gods or were gods themselves. Perhaps that's why Cleopatra became the goddess of the Nile. Who do you think Cleopatra resembled more? Do you think she looked like her mother or her brother? Write your versions in the comments below. And here are some fun facts about her. Cleopatra may have used her wits to fool Julius Caesar. According to legend, when Caesar entered her chamber, he noticed that one of the women nearby was very similar to him. Cleopatra asked what he thought about her resemblance to the Roman emperor. Caesar said that it was indeed striking. Then the queen announced that she was his daughter. However, the cunning Cleopatra deceived not only Caesar, but also her own son. Once he asked her how it was possible that he had never heard the voice of his father, and she replied that Caesar was dumb. During the siege of Alexandria, the Roman Emperor Octavian was almost killed. The story goes that one night he and his close friend Agrippa went for a walk near the harbor, and then they decided to go down into the sea. However, as they swam away from the shore, they realized that they couldn't get back. Fortunately, someone noticed the unusual situation of the Roman emperor and threw in lifebuoys, who pulled Octavian and Agrippa out of the water. No one knows who exactly threw in the lifebuoys, but according to one version, it was Cleopatra. Cleopatra's last wish was to have her mummified, despite the fact that this was forbidden in Egypt at that time. The ban on mummification was introduced by the priest king Akhenaten, who proclaimed the worship of the sun god Aten and ordered the Egyptians to abandon the burial rituals in honor of Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Thank you for watching this video. We hope that it brought you closer to the amazing world of the ancient Egyptians. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you won't miss new videos.